need to make sure that this never happens again. And we will be working around the clock to do whatever's necessary to apprehend those that did this heinous thing today.
Onslaught for basketball began at the Pittsburgh Project, Urban Impact, Allegheny Elementary School, Allegheny Middle School, and Alderdice High School.
October 28, 2022, 11:03 a.m. Two men in black masks cross the street toward Destiny of Faith Church in Pittsburgh. They've been watching for 20 minutes. Inside, a family mourns their son. 20-year-old John Horns Jr. killed 13 days earlier in a gas station shooting. The masked men reach the church doors. Then they open fire on a room full of mourners. 5 people are shot. Chaos erupts. Screaming fills the air. But here's what makes this even worse. 2 police officers were supposed to be protecting this funeral. The family had requested them specifically, fearing exactly this kind of retaliation. Those officers, they were sent to the wrong location. This is the story of 2 tragedies, a gas station ambush and a funeral massacre, and the blood feud that connected them. Before we continue, if you're interested in true crime stories that go deep into the investigation, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. To understand why someone would attack a funeral, you need to know who John Horns Jr. was. Everyone called him Jay. Born in 2002 in Pittsburgh, John was the type of person who made you feel like everything was going to be all right. He had one of those smiles that could diffuse tension instantly, the kind of presence that made you feel safer just by being around him. His passion? Basketball. From the time he was young, the court was his sanctuary. Whether he was running games at the Pittsburgh Project or watching his favorite NBA team, basketball was where John found peace in a city that didn't always offer much of it. He was 20 years old. He had dreams of building a stable future. He wanted out of the violence that consumed his neighborhood. But on October 15, 2022, those dreams were stolen. October 15th started like any regular Friday. John met up with 2 close friends at the Sunoco gas station on Cedar Avenue. Nothing unusual, just 3 young men hanging out, talking, waiting for the bus. Then an SUV slowly rolled past. Without warning, gunshots exploded into the air. John and his friends were caught completely off guard. In that split second, survival instinct kicked in. His friends, both armed, returned fire, trying to protect themselves. John didn't have a weapon. He was just there. The SUV got riddled with bullets as the shootout escalated. The people inside returned fire. What started as an ambush became a full-blown gunfight in seconds. Bullets flew in both directions. The street became a battlefield. When the gunfire finally stopped, 3 people were dead. John Horns Jr., 20 years old, unarmed, caught in crossfire he never asked for, was struck by a bullet. Despite desperate efforts to save him, he didn't survive. But the tragedy didn't end with John. 2 innocent bystanders, 52-year-old Betty Jean Everett and 66-year-old Jacqueline Mahalik, had been waiting for the bus. They were hit by stray bullets. They died instantly. 3 lives gone. In a matter of seconds. Pittsburgh police immediately launched an investigation. Within days, they arrested 19-year-old Kyron Troutman, believed to be one of the shooters inside the SUV. He was charged with John's murder. They also arrested 21-year-old Charles Hines, one of John's friends who had returned fire. Ballistics proved his bullets struck the two bystanders. He was charged with their deaths. But here's what investigators didn't know yet. The violence wasn't over. What happened next shocked the entire city. But first, let me know in the comments. Have you ever heard of a case like this before? Drop your thoughts below. October 28, 2022, 13 days after John's death. His family gathered at Destiny of Faith Church in Pittsburgh's Brighton Heights neighborhood to say their final goodbyes. The church was filled with mourners, family members, friends, loved ones, all there to honor John's memory. The funeral began at 10 a.m. Inside, the mood was heavy. Some prayed quietly. Others sat in silence, their hearts shattered. John's family had requested police protection. They feared retaliation. They specifically asked for officers to be present at the funeral. The Pittsburgh Police Department assigned 2 officers, but those officers were mistakenly sent to the wrong location. At 10:43 a.m., surveillance cameras captured 2 figures dressed in all black, wearing balaclavas, standing across the street from the church. They didn't move. They just watched, waiting. For 20 minutes, they surveilled the area. One held a handgun. The other appeared to be concealing something under his jacket, likely another firearm. At exactly 11:03 a.m., they made their move. The 2 men crossed the street toward Destiny of Faith Church. They approached the entrance. Then they unleashed a barrage of gunfire directly into the crowd of mourners. Chaos erupted instantly. People who had come to pay their respects suddenly found themselves running for their lives. Bullets tore through the air. Screaming filled the church. Mourners dove beneath pews, behind cars, behind anything that could provide cover. Surveillance footage captured the horror. One woman fell to the ground, clearly struck, but still tried to crawl to safety. A man with a gun fired indiscriminately into the crowd, targeting random individuals. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was a premeditated attack. A deliberate ambush on vulnerable, grieving people. When the gunfire finally stopped, 5 people had been shot. Miraculously, all 5 survived. But the emotional and psychological scars would last far longer than the physical wounds. John's family, already devastated by his death, was now traumatized again. They had asked for protection. They had been promised safety. Instead, they got a massacre. Pittsburgh Police Chief Larry Sirotto addressed the media immediately. "We need to make sure that this never happens again, and we will be working around the clock to apprehend those that did this." But the damage was done. The community was shattered. And one question haunted everyone. Who would attack a funeral? The investigation moved quickly. Surveillance footage from the church and nearby streets became crucial evidence. Cameras captured a black vehicle near the church before and after the shooting. Within hours, police located the abandoned black car in Brighton Heights, not far from the crime scene. Using footage from multiple cameras, investigators traced the suspect's movements step by step. The trail led them to McKee's Rocks, a residential area just outside Pittsburgh. There, officers found Sean Davis and Hezekiah Nixon attempting to flee in another vehicle. But traffic on the McKee's Rocks bridge stopped them cold. As police closed in, both men panicked. Nixon bolted from the car and threw his firearm into the Ohio River below. Davis dropped his gun on the roadway as officers surrounded him. Police immediately called for divers to recover Nixon's weapon. Both men were arrested on the spot. Sean Davis and Hezekiah Nixon were charged with attempted homicide, aggravated assault, reckless endangerment, and firearms violations. But as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered something even more disturbing. Evidence suggested Davis and Nixon were also connected to the October 15th gas station shooting that killed John. This wasn't just a funeral attack. This was revenge. Here's what detectives believe happened. The gas station shooting on October 15th was part of an ongoing feud between two groups in Pittsburgh. When John and his friends returned fire that day, bullets from their guns struck and killed someone connected to Davis and Nixon's crew. Davis and Nixon wanted payback. They planned to retaliate at John's funeral, a moment when his family and friends would be most vulnerable. They watched the church for 20 minutes, waiting for the perfect moment. Then they attacked. The motive? Revenge, pure and simple. An eye for an eye. A cycle of violence that consumed everyone in its path. If you're finding this case as shocking as I did, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps us bring you more in-depth true crime investigations. And comment below. Do you think the police department should be held accountable for the security failure? The funeral attack exposed a catastrophic failure within the Pittsburgh Police Department. John's family had specifically requested police protection for the funeral. They told officers they feared retaliation. They asked for security to ensure everyone's safety. The department agreed. 2 officers were assigned to protect the funeral. But due to a miscommunication, those officers were sent to the wrong location. They arrived at a different church entirely, miles away from Destiny of Faith. When the shooting started, there were no police officers present to respond. No one to stop the attack. No one to protect the mourners. The community was outraged. One resident captured the anger perfectly. I never imagined we'd see someone shoot up holy ground, a church, a funeral. This is where people go to mourn, to find peace, and it became a crime scene. The Pittsburgh Police Department admitted its mistake. The 2 officers who were sent to the wrong location were suspended pending investigation. But for John's family, the apology felt hollow. They had done everything right. They had asked for help. They had followed protocol. And still, they were left unprotected. The security failure raised serious questions about how law enforcement handles sensitive situations where emotions run high and the risk of retaliation is real. Should there have been more precautions, better communication, a fail-safe to ensure officers arrived at the correct location? Those questions lingered long after the attack. With overwhelming evidence against them, Sean Davis and Hezekiah Nixon faced trial. Prosecutors presented surveillance footage showing the 2 dressed in all black, stalking the church for 20 minutes before crossing the street and opening fire. Ballistics matched their weapons to bullets recovered at the scene. Testimonies from survivors painted a harrowing picture. 2 young men unleashing violence on grieving families without hesitation or remorse. The courtroom became a place where the community could finally see accountability, where justice, however incomplete, could begin to take shape. One survivor testified, "I thought I was going to die at my friend's funeral. I'll never forget the sound of those gunshots. I'll never forget the screaming." John's mother delivered a victim impact statement that brought the courtroom to tears. "My son was 20 years old. He loved basketball. He made everyone around him feel safe. And now I have to live the rest of my life knowing he was killed twice. Once at that gas station, and again when they attacked his funeral, when they attacked us." The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours, guilty on all counts. Sean Davis and Hezekiah Nixon were convicted of attempted homicide, aggravated assault, reckless endangerment, and firearms violations. Both received sentences of multiple decades in prison. As they were led away in handcuffs, neither showed emotion. No remorse, no apology, just cold indifference. For the Horns family, the convictions brought some measure of closure. But they couldn't bring John back. They couldn't erase the trauma of that day at Destiny of Faith Church. They couldn't undo the damage. Justice had been served. But the pain remained. We're almost at the end of this heartbreaking story. But before we wrap up, I want to ask, what do you think should happen to people who commit crimes like this? Should they ever be eligible for parole? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The story of John James Horns Jr. is a painful reminder of how quickly violence can escalate, how one tragedy can trigger another, how revenge creates cycles that consume entire communities. John was 20 years old. He loved basketball. He had dreams of a better future. He made people feel safe. On October 15, 2022, he was killed in a gas station shootout, caught in crossfire between groups engaged in a senseless feud. 13 days later, his funeral became a massacre. Two young men, driven by revenge, walked into a sacred space and opened fire on mourners. 5 more people were shot. An entire community was traumatized. The ripple effects of violence don't stop with one death. They spread, they multiply, they create more pain, more trauma, more loss. John's family had to bury him twice, once in their hearts when he was killed, and again when his funeral. The one place they should have felt safe became another crime scene. Today, Destiny of Faith Church has installed metal detectors. They hold annual memorials for John, honoring his memory and advocating for an end to gun violence. John's mother founded a community organization in his name, working with young people in Pittsburgh to break the cycle of retaliation and violence. Sean Davis and Hezekiah Nixon remain in prison. They won't be eligible for parole until 2047. The 2 police officers who were sent to the wrong location were disciplined, but eventually reinstated. The Pittsburgh Police Department implemented new protocols to prevent similar failures. But for John's family, no amount of policy changes or prison sentences can bring him back. His story is a call to action, a reminder that we cannot accept cycles of violence as normal, that revenge only creates more victims, that funerals must remain sacred spaces where families can mourn in peace. John Horns Jr. mattered. His dreams mattered, his future mattered, and his death demands that we do better, for him, for his family, and for every young person growing up in neighborhoods where violence feels inevitable. Pittsburgh will remember John James Horns Jr., not just for how he died, but for how he lived, for his smile, for his loyalty, for his love of basketball, for the way he made people feel safe. His legacy is a reminder. Every life lost to violence leaves behind a family, a community, and dreams that will never be fulfilled. What do you think about this case? Do you believe cycles of violence can be broken? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe to True Crime Zone for more deep dive investigations into cases that matter. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.